So how did you get into body language? So we know you from the previous episode about Merrill research and about the qualitative and quantitative research that you're doing. How did you get into the whole body language and becoming such an expert in it?
It's a good question. At a very young age, I was traveling back and forth across the United States from the age of 6 months to the age of 12. I had traversed the country 3 times and always was the new kid on the block and learned very quickly to keep my mouth shut and my eyes open to be accepted. But that parlayed me into a career in journalism where I began to hone things like my reporting skills, my observation skills, my writing skills. And then that led to research where I began to, interview people, and I always had a sixth sense that somebody was not leveling with me, but could never really describe that until I began to study it and began to be taught by some, rather significant figures in the field. And so once I began to understand body language deeply, I wanted to go out and teach it. But then I realized, wow, what a tool for research, for
Hmm.
market research. And bada boom, the idea hit me and we merged the two companies. It hasn't been the same since, because when you think about it, if you're a behavioral scientist and you're interviewing people face to face, it almost begs the question, why not be trained in body language? If most communication, Mark, is nonverbal,
Mm.
it's like learning another language, really. So that's how
Yeah.
I got into it.
So there's something that I was trying to think of it earlier. I think it's something like 70% of what you say is through your body language. 20% is how you look, and then 10% is actually what you say. And so the value of body language in business arenas as well as in so where that thought came from, I remember seeing JFK giving a speech in the 60s, and there was a video or something. I was reading a book about it. I can't remember, it was a long time ago, and they were saying about how what a great orator he was and how expressive and how he could convey what he wanted to get across. But this analysis was all based around his method of communicating, and that was based on non-verbal as well as what he was saying as well.
Those statistics that you just mentioned out
Are they
the
actually true?
outset of, they're not,
Okay.
unfortunately. And here's how this happened. Do you oftentimes hear a widely quoted statistic that 90% of our communication is nonverbal? Well, that came from a psychology professor whose last name is Morabian, and he did a study in his class amongst an all female class, and he derived that number from that class. It was never intended
Right,
to be used as a de facto standard of measuring
right,
nonverbal communication. I don't know how you do that. I mean,
right.
the nonverbal communications is not static, it's super fluid. And the best thing we can say, so that 90% is just not true. On the other hand, what you can say is that most communication is nonverbal. That's what I'm willing to say,
Right.
because I don't know of any studies or statistics that would really measure that.